Hi, I'm Dolph Lundgren, and welcome to the Life and Film Podcast.
This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story?
The man alive!
He dies. He dies.
Our guest today is up there with the most iconic action stars of the 1980s. But before taking on Rocky Balboa, he achieved a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in chemical engineering and went on to become two-time European karate champion. He even considered becoming a boxer before modelling led him to acting. We chat about his first experience on set, which just so happened to be on a 007 movie, A View to a Kill, the dark side of fame, fighting for the role of Drago and his relationship with Sylvester Stallone, which of the Expendables are legit, and his new venture with Hard Cut Vodka. Our guest today is actor Dolph Lundgren.
My podcast is usually about, how someone's career begins and, where that passion comes from, whether it be, was it family influence or, how did you get into performing? Because I know you've kind of dabbled in various things in your career, not just acting. But how did the acting come about? Where would that sort of element of performance? Was that something when you were young, like as a kid?
Yeah, I was a bit of a clown when I was a kid and on stage in a junior high. I played the drums. I painted a lot. I was kind of sickly as a kid. I had allergies. This is Sweden, and I couldn't really do a lot of sports till I was in my teens. So
Wow.
I got interested in creative matters. Also, my dad was a engineer and military officer, and he was a kind of a violent guy. So I had a big conflict with him when I was a kid, which actually kind of led me into martial arts. Um, a lot of men who are in combat sports or law enforcement, military, it's not all of them, but some of them have that conflict with their father, like a stern father, and I had that. So I think I didn't realize it at the time, but I did study engineering. I was a martial arts champion in Europe and so forth. But when I finally had to make a decision about what I was going to do with my life, um, at that point I had also started doing some modeling, and this kind of urge to be creative and I was attracted by the creative community. I came to New York. I was dating this singer Grace Jones back in the 80s. I met Andy Warhol, Michael Jackson, a bunch of people there, and I was it was Studio 54. It was parties. It was photography. It was a lot of things that floating around that I thought I kind of belong here. I don't really belong in the engineering world, even though I was good at it and I got a lot of scholarships and I could do it. But it was just that was a vehicle for me to get out of Sweden
Mm-mm.
and to go to America or Australia or whatever. So that's kind of where I got the bug, or the bug was in me, but it was kind of released by that, by meeting Grace, moving to New York, and being exposed to this interesting kind of crazy but creative world.
Yeah, I mean, it's mental that, you had a master's degree in chemical engineering, European, karate champion, and then, most people would be done. That'd be like, that's enough. I've done enough. And then going into acting, it's a bit like the Arnold bug, where you tried many different things. And I was shocked because I'm really familiar with your career and I'm a big fan of a lot of your movies. But doing my homework on this, I was really surprised to see that your first credit was a James Bond film. Like I didn't have any idea.
Mm.
That took me by surprise. And obviously the connection there with Grace Jones what is that like? First experience on set and you're on the set of a Bond movie. That's pretty mad.
Yeah, I was going out with Grace. We lived in New York. I was studying acting, thinking also was dabbling around with boxing to become a professional fighter. So I was doing that at
Another
the
thing to
same
do, yeah.
time. Yeah, so I wasn't sure. And Grace got really upset when she heard I was, thought about it. And somebody offered me a contract, and she got really upset and said, "It's not for you, Dolph." I mean, her lawyer called me. It's really dangerous. And anyway, they were right, of course. But I was with her in Europe, and first I went to Mexico, where she was doing Conan the Destroyer, which is a sequel to Conan the Barbarian. And I met Arnold, and at the time I was boxing, I was training, and he's like, "You're training very hard," and I was mostly running and hitting the bag, and then I went to London, and she was going to be kind of the bad girl in the Bond movie with Roger Moore, and they were shooting in I think the first shoot, the first couple of weeks were in France, and it started in Paris, and they did this thing in the Eiffel Tower when she chases Bond up, and she goes off, and he chases her, and she goes off in a parachute. Well, they had a guy go off. I still remember they rented out the Eiffel Tower, which I don't know if you can do that anymore, but for a day or two, and then the next shoot was at the Chantilly Castle, which was a racetrack, and Christopher Walken is the main bad guy, and there was some guy didn't show up for work. Some stunt guy was going to play a Russian, bad guy, bodyguard to the main KGB guy, and
Wow.
I was there, and the director John Glenn just said, "Hey, Dolph, you want to be in the movie? You could be bodyguard." And I was like, "I don't know, maybe I'm going to screw it up, I don't know if I can do it." He said, "Oh, no, just going to point the gun at Chris Walken, and they gave me a suit, and I did it, and it was over in 15 seconds, but it was interesting. I got to meet Chris Walken and hang with him a little bit, and Roger Moore, of course. I got friendly with him after the movie, and his son, and he was a great guy, and it was interesting. Then we went to Pinewood, and he would arrive in his Bentley with his driver. He looked like James Bond when he showed up for work, so it was like he was just playing himself. But I still remember he had this. We had lunch at the commissary every day. They had this old wood panel commissary, and he's smoking a cigar, and he did. He for some reason he came up with this thing when he was when I was there. He always said, "Dolph is larger than Denmark." I don't know why he said that, but I thought he thought it was from Denmark. I don't know, but anyway, so that was my foray into the movie business, and went to the premiere with Grace in San Francisco. With Duran Duran were there. They played the title theme, and I remember it was pandemonium, 50,000 girls outside the hotel. Crazy, but I'd already started. By then, I was working on the Rocky picture, and I remember I was in the dressing room after training with Sly, and I said, "I'm going to the opening of the Bond movie," and of course he's like, "Forget about the Bond movie." He's like, "Just wait for when this picture opens, You'll wait, you wait. You'll see what's going to happen." And he was right, of course.
Yeah, wow. What were the stepping stones, from, having that small part in the James Bond movie and then, getting, I mean, Rocky, that's a huge part and it's such an iconic role now. This villainous is the word part. How do you go from that to such a huge role? Was that a audition process, or was it being around the right people? What was the situation there?
As usual, it's kind of right place at the right time, combined with your own talent or perseverance. I was in New York, and Grace's agent, through her, I went out for different movies, and this is after I did the Bond. This is before the Bond movie or during, but she went back and forth from New York to London, and I was auditioning for different parts, and one was a boxing movie. I didn't know what it was. They were just standing in line, and there was a bunch of guys in line, and then I came up to a person, and a woman, and she said, "How tall are you?" We said 6'5". She says, "Too tall. Next." And I saw behind her a little sign that said Rocky 4, handwritten, and I was like, "The Rocky movie." I'm a huge fan. I mean, I love the first one. I was in America when it came out. I was as an exchange student. I used to play Eye of the Tiger when I was in Australia fighting for the championships, and
Wow.
So I sort of I talked to my acting coach, who was this guy Warren Robertson, and I think he arranged a dinner with this guy John Hertzfeld, who was a good friend of Stallone's, a director, and you know, and John said, "You're the guy Sly's been looking for. It's like this is exactly what he's been looking for." And he said, "Do you have any photos?" And I think I jumped on my motorcycle, drove down to the village, gave him an 8x10, bare chested from Australia when I was modeling, when I was wrapping my hands, so like all sweaty and
Oh well, so that picture is before Rocky, because I think I've seen that image of you, yeah, doing your hands and that. So that was before Rocky. That wasn't even for the Rocky films. That was just an
that
image of
was
you.
yeah, that was before Rocky. And then I went to Europe, the Bond movie and all of that, and somebody just called me out of the blue when I was in Sweden or something, and just I don't know how they tracked me down, but I guess some poor bastard over at MGM had gotten the job to trade. Sly got the photo. It was this guy, get hold of him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I had no agent. I mean, nobody. It wasn't like now, so it was like
Mm.
I don't know how they found me, but they did find me, and Sly wants to meet you, so I flew back to. I think I flew from New York to LA. Some guy picked me up in a station wagon. This is before SUVs, the old station wagon, and took me up to Paramount, and I met Sly. He was about to shoot Rambo 2. I remember him, very tanned, long hair, looked very. I was a bit starstruck, like shit.
Mm.
And we got in his office, and he showed me. I got 5,000 guys up for this role. He showed me all of these binders, and we took some Polaroids, and he said, "You got to put on some weight. You got to practice. I'm going to send you a monologue. You need to practice.
Mm.
It's going to be a screen test." So 6 months later, I went back to London, and I hired a bodybuilder in London to help me with training for the role, to put on some muscle, because I was kind of lean. I did a lot of running. As a fighter, you're just lean.
Mm.
It's just about winning the fight. You don't care what you look like. So now I had to like lift weights, and I did that for 6 months. Went on a diet, practiced this monologue, and I had this acting coach in New York. He's passed away now. Very nice guy, and he was very clever. He watched all the other villains, and they were very loud, like Apollo Creed. Time to go to school, son. And then you have Mr.
Yeah,
T. You know,
Dead meat.
dead meat, and so
yeah.
they were very loud. And he was said, you're a Soviet officer, fighter. You should be very, very stoic and internalize all the dialogue. Don't do anything. Just stand there. He said, your presence is enough. As soon as you do too much, it's going to come across as bad acting. So basically, I practiced a monologue for months. I was really with Warren watching me. So I had it down pretty much, the
Mm.
Russian accent, everything. And then I had to do a screen test. And I went to LA and stayed in some shitty hotel somewhere, and went down for breakfast to have a coffee. I didn't want to eat because I was trying to stay ripped. So the elevator opens, and there's a tall blonde guy in there. Yes, you want to go? It's some Russian guy. And then there's another guy getting food down there. It's like, okay,
Oh, wow.
two other candidates, but they did exactly what Warren had predicted. They were very loud. I will break you. I will demolish you. When I came out and did the thing, it was like, my name is Drago. I'm a fighter from the Soviet Union. It was like that,
Yeah,
right?
nice.
And then there was 50 people behind the camera, guys in suits, Stallone, his bodyguards, and this kind of slow tracking shot. Came down on my feet, actually, and up around like that. And I did my thing. I was in boxing shorts, no shirt.
Mm.
Next day, Sly called me, you got the part, kid. And I moved to LA. So, then it was another 6 months of training with him on the fights, on the choreography. But I had the character I worked on the character, like Stanislavski says, it takes 9 months for a baby to develop. It takes 9 months to develop a character. And that's what I think in the old days you had the time, whereas now people don't take the time. And I think, I've done a few of those characters. One was Ivan Drago. Maybe I've done one or two more. Universal Soldier that I worked on a lot. I had, Aquaman I worked on for months and months and months,
Mm.
before it comes from a deep place. And I
Mm.
think what happened was I was perfect for the role. My look was perfect. The fact that I could move really well. The portrayal of that guy, the Soviet fighter, was quite strong. So, and the movie is very well, was a very well executed film directed by Stallone. So
Mm.
it all led to huge success, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Well, people forget like Stallone is such a great writer, director, and actor. He's all those things. But it's my favorite Rocky movie. It's easily the best. It's got the best montage for sure.
Yeah. The
Um,
montage is good. I like the first one too, which
mm,
obviously has all the very classic and a little
yeah.
more of a indie kind of feel to it. But you're right. For the 80s, Rocky Four, I mean, with the music and James Brown and the montage and those freeze frames and the lighting, the Bill Butler, the cinematographer,
Mm.
has his old school tungsten lights, with their
Yeah, yeah.
everything's backlit. It's no, it's beautiful for sure.
It's still, yeah, because everything back then shot on film, it just holds up. You watch it now and you're like, oh, it still looks great. Yeah, an incredible, incredible movie. I heard a rumor, and I just, because we're on the subject matter, is there any truth? People, all these things come out, and you think that can't be true. Any truth in that when you were doing a fight sequence with Stallone for that movie, that Stallone had to go to hospital because he got punched in the heart and his heart nearly stopped or something? I've heard this rumor for years, and is there any sort of truth to that? It sounds ridiculous.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't in the hospital room. I didn't see the diagnosis, but I know what happened was that we were fighting, for 2 weeks. That final fight, we shot that first up
Mm,
because Sly said, "Oh, you got to shoot the ending first when you have all the money and you're not tired." And it was very clever, right? Get the
mm,
ending first. Which did the same on the Expendables. Actually, it was interesting. But anyway, so we were fighting, and he's 10 years younger than me. I'm older than me. I'm 27, European karate champion, you know, 20 pounds heavier than him,
mm.
10 years younger. And we went at it pretty hard to the body, especially. Not so much to the head, of course, you can't, but some of the shots you got to take them for the slow-mo montage, but to the body pretty hard, and hit me hard too, but I could take it. So we shot, and he was directing, producing, and acting. No doubles, because you can't double. I mean, yeah, if you're really far away, you could throw in a double, but I didn't have a double, and I think he may have had somebody, but they were never there,
Mm.
hardly ever. So, by the end of 2 weeks of that, he was exhausted, and then I went back to LA, and producer calls me and says, "Hey, Dolph, you got 2 weeks off," and I'm like, "Yes, good." And I'm like, why? He says, Sly's in the hospital. And I'm like, really? And then I heard that apparently they have to fly him from LA. They flew from Vancouver to LA. They have to fly low altitude or something because his heart was, it was, had was swollen, some part of the heart. And they flew him in, and he was in the hospital for like a week or two. And of course, they said it was my fault. Well, I just did what I was told, but I think he was also exhausted. So,
Mm.
and two weeks later, we're back shooting, and that we did a little inserts for
Mm.
for the fight, all those little shots without the audience, with
Mm.
a small audience, and then he was fine. Um,
Wow, they don't make movies like that anymore.
no, no, I mean,
Things have changed.
talk about you had to be in like shape. You're standing there, on the 80-foot screen, like you can see every muscle. And there was no like, no way to fix it after it was done. It wasn't
Yeah,
like you could wear
yeah.
a muscle suit or
Mm.
CGI or something. So yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
hardcore. Yeah.
Wow. Is it kind of crazy to look back on that moment? It's such a huge moment in your career, and everything really took off. You went on a complete tear after that. Is it mad to look back and then obviously having worked with Stallone multiple times since then? Obviously, you mentioned the Expendables there as well. how far you've come and that relationship and collaborating over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Stallone has a special place in my heart, as an artist and as a man. And, he's a complicated guy, very, very successful, very intelligent. We've had our ups and downs, but mostly ups. And I think, in Hollywood, there are not many examples of people working together over 40 years, six different pictures. So that feels really good. I learned a lot from him, and I think in some ways maybe I taught him a few things too on a
Mm.
different level. And hopefully we could do another picture together. But
Yeah, I love that.
I mean, I've obviously I was part of me sometimes wished I wouldn't have happened so quickly, that I would have had a chance to kind of embrace the craft of acting and show business, like go to auditions like normal actors. They go to
Mm.
500 auditions over a couple of years and kind of hone their craft and kind of get used to the idea of fame, instead of going from MIT to Hollywood, or like in a year. uh,
Mm.
which was kind of a tough experience. It was very life-changing, but it wasn't all positive.
Mm.
I mean, I had to learn to survive pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot as well, back to back. I mean, if you think about, going from Rocky, Master of the Universe, you got the Punisher, Universe, you just like back to back to back to back, and like they're such iconic movies now. It's that must have been, yeah, the fame must have hit you like a like a brick wall, really.
Yeah, we did. This is also the 80s. There's 90s, early 90s. There's you're single and action star and traveling around the world. Going and staying out late and meeting a lot of young ladies,
Doesn't
and
sound too
then
bad, to be honest.
no, then you got to get up and hit the gym in the morning. So it was, it was kind of full on, like 110% on,
Mm.
kind of throttle to the, I would say pedal to the metal for 10 years, or probably, yeah, about 10 years before I calmed down, before I had a family, when it kind of calmed down a little bit.
Mm-mm. Well, in terms of, we have a lot of actors listen to this podcast, and do you have any advice? I'll take it as well, being an actor. Any sort of advice to, getting your foot in the door, surviving the industry? Any sort of advice at all?
I think there are there's different phases to it. One is, how do you find, success, meaning how can you be hired? Why would people want to hire you? And
Mm.
I guess, well, the old saying is, be so good they can't ignore you.
Mm-mm.
I think, I mean, I didn't know that, but I embraced my chance in Rocky Four as a life-changing opportunity, and I put a lot of work into it, as an athlete would, like a lot of discipline, a lot of focus, try to make a lot out of it. And I think even smaller roles, people have made careers because they're discovered from small roles. Um, so I think the focus and the attention to detail and embracing the craft. And then, of course, when you make it, well, then you gotta have some friends or family around, or remember where you came from, and try to write it out, because there's sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's right next door to Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
End up Most people end up there if they become famous,
Mm,
for a while.
mm, mm.
Hopefully it won't destroy them, but sometimes it destroys them, sometimes it makes them stronger. But I think you just have to go through that. It's just a matter of, if you can draw on, you know, home, family, friends. That's,
Mm.
I mean, I had martial arts. I had something that was spiritual and physical to draw from. So I think that kept me alive. But it was very close many times to like destruction, for
Yeah,
sure.
fair enough. I guess it's like a knife edge, isn't it? I guess you're kind of, yeah, you've got a lot. that you can choose from, and it's sometimes you can make the wrong choices, I guess, under that sort of circumstance. But
Also, you got all the business side of it too, where you getting bad advice. I had all of that, people stealing money, all of that. I went through all of that stuff. So
mm,
I think now it's maybe a little more organized. It's a bit more regulated now. If you're a
mm,
young actor and you have talent, I think there's more of a clearer path, perhaps, for management and people to get hold of you. But in those days, it was a little more like the Wild West, you know.
mm.
Here's a young kid. Let's let's get this kid and let's squeeze everything out of him we can, you know.
Yeah.
Cares where he ends up, whether he lives or dies, it doesn't matter. I mean, so Hollywood's always been like that a little bit anyway. You look at Judy Garland and people like that, and so you have to have, the ability to shape your own future. And I had it to some degree, but I was also very much of a people pleaser, and I kind of was not a good thing, really. I
Mm.
mean, it turned out to be, I think, in the whole scheme of things, that I have a very good reputation and very good name. No, I have never made any enemies or anything like that, or but the way you have to pay a price for that. And instead of being a tough actor who fires people and says, no, I wasn't that guy.
Now for a quick break. We'll be back to the episode shortly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, get early access and exclusive content and episodes, click to join our YouTube channel and become a member now.
Please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at lifeinfilmpod. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. Life in Film has partnered with Betterhelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, Betterhelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. We are sponsored by movieposters.com. Are you a movie fan? I presume you are. Well, at movieposters.com, you can shop for all your favourite posters in one place. The #1 source for high quality, authentic movie posters. From new releases to cult classics and 100% authentic originals. Thinking of having a browse? Well, if you see a poster that tickles your fancy, as a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off with promo code lifeinfilm10. That's promo code lifeinfilm10. So why not give it a go? And back to the show. Man, you've been in the industry so long, it's amazing. Yeah, and for anyone to survive and have a career and still be relevant. I mean, for God's sake, like in the last couple of years, you've done Creed 2, you've done Aquaman 1 and 2, like all these huge films. Minions as well, like you range, man. That's that's range. But in terms of, like that longevity and staying sane, and because basically one of our sponsors is BetterHelp. So we talk a lot about mental health and the kind of things that you do in your spare time to sort of stay sane, and obviously martial arts, keeping fit must be key for you as well. Is that something you still do? Do you still do martial arts? Do you still, obviously you're in good shape, like is that something that keeps you sane in between the jobs?
Oh, certainly, yes. I just worked out this morning, hit the bag, did the cardio circuit,
Mm.
assault bike, hit the bag, push-ups, sit-ups, light weights, that kind of thing. I do strength training as well. 3 times a week, I do maybe one big cardio circuit and some walking and biking. But yeah, I mean, I was blessed to have a good physique and to have very good discipline from childhood, because I was involved in martial arts from sports since I was a kid. That's helped me a lot. Then I found meditation when I was about 50 years old, which I used to do every day. Now I do like twice a week. Seated meditation, when you're actually alone with your own thoughts. Like somebody said, Most people have never sat down for 30 minutes without doing anything,
Mm.
being alone with your own thoughts ever in their lives, without being asleep or
Yeah.
getting a massage or something. Well, actually, you're just sitting there. You're just there, and it's like having a glass of dirty water and putting it down and watching the mud just kind of sink to the bottom.
Mm.
So I do that twice a week. Um, I mean, I went through a cancer treatment for, the last 5 years. It's kind of, I've been, NED, they call it no evidence of disease, for 3 years now, but it started 10 years ago, actually. I
Wow.
got the first diagnosis and I had surgery, and then it was supposed to be clear, but it wasn't. It came back 2020, and then I went through a really hard period when I was doing Aquaman and doing Creed 2.
Mm.
Aquaman and Expendables 4, actually, in London, a really hard period where, my health really deteriorated, and I couldn't work out much, and the meds kind of took its toll on me as well. So, from 2023, the last 2 years, I've had to sort of get back in shape
Mm.
the way it used to be. So I've gone through that. I was almost back to when I was 12 years old, and I started doing push-ups in my bedroom, thinking, I want to look like those guys in the magazine,
Yeah.
it starts when you're a kid and you're trying to be a man, that I had to go back. I was back at that state again a
Mm.
couple of years ago
Wow.
to, you know, trying to bike up a hill, and I would like have to get off and walk because
Mm.
the condition was so bad. This is just like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So,
Mm.
now I'm back again, but it's a continuous fight, basically.
Mm. Man, congratulations for getting through it. That's, yeah, incredible, man. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
harsh. And I mean, thanks for your honesty and opening up about that as well. That's it's obviously a very personal thing, but I'm glad you're in remission now and it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I have a documentary that's coming out this year.
Oh,
It's
cool.
actually going to a couple of festivals. We just submitted to Sundance and New York, Newport Beach.
Mm.
There's one in Turin in Italy. That's about not only about the cancer, but it's framed by the cancer treatment,
Mm.
but it's about my whole life, everything we
Oh,
talked about.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's called
wicked.
Fights Worth Fighting. It's called Fights Worth Fighting. Hard Cut Vodka. Hard Cut's got a higher alcohol percentage to give your drink that extra kick. Made in the Rocky Mountains with, did I just say Rocky? Well, whatever. Made with fresh spring water, giving you the cleanest, best tasting, most badass vodka I've ever tasted. Yes, I've tasted them all. So, I hope to have you on the Hard Cut team. 2 vodka. Badass. Hard Cut. Smooth finish.
I want to ask straight away about your vodka, Hard Cut Vodka. Where does that come from? Where does that, is there a passion for a particular vodka? How come you went into this and how come you're now starting your own company?
I'm from Sweden. I used to drink a lot too much back in the day when I was younger, but I like vodka, and I used to love vodka. I drank it a lot, but at some point I got sidetracked to tequila and whiskey, and then about 5 years ago I decided to try to drink some vodka again, and I was actually dating my current wife, and I was up in Santa Barbara at the bar and just trying these vodkas, and it didn't taste very good. They were very harsh, and I was complaining too much, and she said, "Why don't you make your own? You're a chemical engineer. You're from Sweden. You played a Russian a couple of times, and I thought it was a good idea because I know that a lot of celebrities have done liquor brands and tequila mostly, and I looked at the vodka section and it looked kind of boring, and I thought, well, why not? Could be fun,
Mm.
something different, and decided to be an entrepreneur. And
Why
I
not?
wanted to, or me and Emma, my current wife, we wanted to create a vodka that was the best tasting vodka on the market, the smoothest. And then we decided to make it overproof. So it's 45%. so it has a little more bite than a
Wow.
regular vodka, and we thought that's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's funny with vodka. I always, when you're young and you drink cheap vodka and you're just like drinking it because you want to get drunk, the difference between a bad vodka and a good vodka is it's so vast. And I've only learned that very recently, to be honest. So I'm looking forward to actually trying yours. And in terms of, there's you mentioned that, it's like vodka's a big Russian drink. It's big in Europe. Do you have do you drink it straight or do you have cocktails that you like to make from it? What's your tipple?
Um, well, personally, I prefer it straight up over a big cube,
Mm,
sip on it. And it's smooth enough where you could do that, almost like with a bourbon or a whiskey, um, or a great tequila. And I think I like to show people, like you said, all vodkas don't taste like aviation fuel. They're actually some of them taste pretty good. And there is another 5-to-1 martini I worked out that I decided, but if you have a 5-to-1 ratio with vermouth and
mm,
between the vodka and the vermouth, it sort of gives it a little bit of a zest, a little bit of a flavor, but doesn't take over too much.
mm.
With green olives, I like that one. And also, we have a pretty good vodka espresso. So, yeah, there are many ways. There are a bunch of other drinks we like too. It's very good with fresh apple ginger juice, with a
Mm.
little twist too.
Mm.
So, yeah, there's many ways to drink it. But I think the difference about it is the potato vodka.
Mm.
So if you get all vodkas worldwide, about 2% are made from potatoes.
Mm.
Most of them are grain, like Grey Goose, Belvedere, the top ones that people buy, Kettle One. Tito's is corn. So technically, it isn't really vodka because it's, vodka is supposed to be from potatoes or grains. So
Mm.
but some people like it because it's kind of sweet, but yeah, potatoes. Our vodka is from Idaho, so it has that. It's a U.S. vodka, so it's good for us now with our lovely president, with all the tariffs and all these trade wars going on. Never know what's going to happen, but we're good there.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, so there you go. But that's kind of yeah, it's a fun project.
Yeah, I mean that it's a bit of a laugh, isn't it? To be able to, it must be nice. You've had such an incredible career, and then you're interested in vodka, and you're like, I'm gonna give this a go. Is it a lot of setup? You say it took 5 years to get it on the shelves. What is the process like to get something like that made?
Well, the first thing was that it was me and Emma who were involved in the whole process. So first, you had to find a good vodka, which took a long time, a couple of years of trying different vodkas, trying to make deal with various companies, and finally we found a distillery in Idaho. That took a long time. Then we always wanted the bottle to be a little more masculine, and a lot of the vodka bottles are kind of elongated and round, and we wanted it to be a little more like a tequila bottle. So that took a while to do that. Then, of course, the name Hard Cut, HC Hard Cut was
Mm.
something that, yeah, we wanted it to be kind of a tough name, but it's hard, no pun
Yeah.
intended, because a lot of the names are taken, and Hard Cut was actually, I thought of it. It's an editing term, and you hard cut from London to Los Angeles, and
Mm.
also when you distill, there is something called hard cut. You hard cut out the heads and the tails of each batch when you do batch distillation. So
Okay.
there's kind of a connection there as well. Plus, you could say, well, an action star is kind of hard cut or diamonds hard cut. So
Mm.
yeah, that took a while. And then we had to find partners, business partners. That took a long time. I didn't know anything about the business. We found a guy in New York who became our CEO. We found salespeople, publicity, marketing. And then, the actual process of a consumer product, of putting it on the market, you need all the licenses for selling liquor in America. So you
Mm.
need different licenses for each state, 44, 50 states. And some of them are control states, meaning the state owns the liquor store. Some of them are, they're all a little different. Texas is different than the others. So that took a while. And then also, the actual production of the glass is in China because that's the cheapest. So the glass is being shipped from China to Idaho, and then the closures come from Ukraine.
Wow, so it's all over.
Yeah, Ukraine. So they're shipped to Idaho, and then it's all put together there. The labels are actually put on in China. We ship the labels to China, and they put on in China, and then shipped to the U.S. China is about half the price of the U.S. for glass.
Wow.
Now, Trump put 100% tariffs on China, so now it's down again to about 40, 50%, I think. But
Mm.
so there you go. So that's what took a long time to get all this going. And we actually formed the company about 2 years ago, the actual company itself, and I kind of funded it with a friend of mine. And then we've brought on investors slowly, mostly friends and family up to this point.
Yeah, it's really, really cool, man. Really cool. And so it's available in America now. Where else is it available?
It's available in California, retail and on premise,
Mhm.
meaning, retail and in restaurants, in New York as well. We're going to go to Florida soon, either in October or next year, probably next year.
Mm.
It's available in 44 states, direct to consumer, through a website. But basically, most of the business is in California. We're trying to grow in California first and win in California because it's a $40 million people population state. The world's, I think, fifth largest economy. There's a lot of work to be done here. So we're focusing on California. And then I think next country would probably be Scandinavia, I hope.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
looking into that. And then because I go there so I can help support it. And then we're actually also looking into the UK. I have a call next week with some
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I have to get a bottle for sure. I'm always interested because Kettle One is kind of the vodka that I was introduced to that I was like, oh, hang on a minute, vodka can actually taste good. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to hurt when it goes down. So I'm very intrigued to try it. And I mean, hats off, man. What an amazing thing to do on top of everything else you've already done.
Thanks. Thanks,
It's
brother. I
incredible.
yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it is satisfying to do something like that once in your career.
One thing, just a couple of rumors I want to kind of hear from the horse's mouth. There was a rumor about someone breaking into your house, and they saw a picture of you on the wall and they ran away. Is there any sort of truth to that?
There's some truth to it. This is Marbella, and I had a house in Marbella. I
Yeah.
broke three guys in masks, put the stuff everywhere. They did see photos of me, and they said in Spanish. They were probably East European. They had like an accent. Were fans of his, and they had my He-Man sword. They were playing around with that, and then
Oh wow.
my wife got to. They stole some stuff, but they said, "Oh, you can have some stuff back here. Pick another watch you want to keep or whatever." And then you know, I of course I was filming at the time. I found out about it, so I sent some people I know down there from actually they're from Bulgaria.
Mm.
I've worked with. They're kind of tough guys to find these people, but they couldn't find them. But yeah, it did help me. I think my career helped me a little bit, except they probably targeted my house because they knew I wasn't there and they knew who I was. So yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. And in terms of, obviously the Expendable movies have incredible casts. And I mean, over the years, not even just the Expendable movies, but you've worked with so many incredible people. Are there any actors like, there's actors that can actually do these things and there are actors that can't. I mean, Scott Adkins is an incredible martial artist. Um,
Hmm.
who's legit out of the Expendables? I'm sure this is a question you get all the time, and you're like, I can't say who's not legit, but who's like a
Uh,
genuine like Van Damme? Is he? Yeah, he looks like he's pretty legit.
I would say most legit would be Randy Couture, probably.
Yeah.
As a fighter. I think 50 he's pretty tough. He's built, he's a big guy, I didn't know he was that built. Uh,
Mm-mm.
and Van Damme is good. I mean, I don't know real tournament history or anything, but he's very skilled. He's like Scott Atkins. He's very skilled at almost the technical, the beauty of martial arts. He knows how to show that. So does Scott. Yeah, but I think of course, then you have guys like Arnold. He was Mr. Universe. I mean, it's unusual these days.
Yeah.
I mean, to have that background, 7 times Mr. Universe, and you're an actor, and also, of course, governor of California. I mean, his story is he's one of the most successful people ever, I think, to come to America, really. So
Yeah, he just kept on having career after career, didn't he? He just kept going.
yeah, he's legit in that way, but I think as a tough guy, I would say those guys. Also, Chuck Liddell, I did a film with him, the MMA guy.
Yeah.
He was pretty tough.
How about I'm trying to think. I don't think have you worked with Steven Seagal? I feel like
No.
you should have done at some
No,
point.
I haven't. I have met him, but I haven't worked with him.
Yeah, there's a lot. He's one of those guys
Very
that
good back in the day. Yeah,
he used to be good back in the day.
he was the real thing. Aikido practitioner and instructor here in LA. Yeah, I believe so.
Like,
I don't know him personally. I haven't worked with him, so it's hard for me to tell. Once you need to see somebody in the flesh, moving.
yeah.
That way you kind of know, because fighters recognize fighters, because there's one thing doing it for the camera, and another thing when somebody's actually trying to knock you out for real. It's a bit different.
Man, this has been wicked. Dream come true for me. So thank you so much for taking the time. All the best with the vodka. I'm gonna order it as soon as it comes online in the UK.
All right, buddy. Appreciate
Cheers,
it.
man.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good
Thank you so
talking to you.
much.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support us, get early access and exclusive content, all ad-free, click and join the Life in Film YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guest Dolph, thank you to Jacqueline and the team at 2 PM Sharp, and as always, thank you to our sponsors, movieposters.com and Betterhelp.
Okay.
Whenever you're
Hi,
ready.
I'm Dolph Lundgren.
Sorry. Talk over it, go on.
Hi, I'm Dolph Lundgren, and welcome to the Life in Film podcast.
It's life in film.